Alright, this is the bunk bed completed, and so this is the video we'll be watching on how to build this today. Just the top bunk, the ladder, and this part down here was an existing bottom bed. So this is something you want to do. Just keep watching. Built all this for about $110 worth of wood, plus paint and screws. It's going to be a video on building a bunk bed, so just the top section basically, so our kids can move into a room together, and hopefully this pile of wood will turn into a bunk bed by the end of this weekend. So this is the current bed that our oldest son has in his room that I built a couple years ago, and so the bunk bed I'm going to try to build basically around this to add a second twin mattress above it, but also leave space where if we want to do a full mattress on the bottom, we can do that as well. But for this kind of first stage, I'm basically just going to build the upper section above this so that we can put a twin mattress on top and try it out for both of the boys. So this won't be a detailed video with dimensions and everything, but just kind of a basic overview. So the first thing I'm going to work on is the 4 legs, vertical legs, and then the cross beams here that are going to basically make the main structure. The vertical leg is going to be 2x4s. I'm going to have 8-foot tall ones. On the inside, I'm going to have 5-foot tall ones.
And that's for us.
Yep, on which 2x6 support beams are going to sit. So I'm going to do that first. Basically cut 2x4s to 5-foot tall, and then cut the 2x6s as long as they need to be. Alright, so I got my 4 main legs. You can see the 8-foot 2x4s behind it, and on the front this is 5-foot section that's going to kind of support the cross beam. So I've got 4 legs. I'm going to use glue and screws to fix the 5-foot section to the 8-foot section. So I've just got some wood glue, 2.5-inch screws, may or may not pre-drill, and just drive them in. So just make sure those are good. A couple extra points before you do this. Now's a good time to select kind of your straightest boards for the 8-foot ones. Make sure if you got a bunch, pick out the nicest ones, the straightest ones, because these are going to make the most difference, I think, because of the long vertical run. And then also make sure the facing of them, you're picking the better one. If you've got a rough face or a smooth face, put the smooth face facing outwards. So in this case, it would be the face against the floor. And so, yeah, just make sure that, whatever faces are showing are your better faces. I did decide I'm going to use a table saw to take the curved edges off either side. So basically, because it's 3.5 inches wide, I'm going to take an 1/8 inch off either side. So I'll run my table saw at 3 3/8 and then 3 1/4. After I flip it, I take an 1/8 inch off the outside. That'll basically make it look like this. Instead of having like curved edges, it has sharp edges, and it just looks a little bit smoother, and it's easier to fill this gap if you want to make it smooth in between. So I wasn't going to do that at first because I was lazy, but I figure this will probably be in the kids' rooms for 5 or 10 years, so might as well do it nice. So that's what I'll do next. My sander just broke. This foam thing just failed on me. I guess it's got screws in it so it's replaceable, but it's interesting. Never had that happen. Alright, so it's about 3 weeks later. We had a bunch of stuff to do on the weekend, so fixed my sander. I'm doing one more pass on these legs, and just wanted to make a note real quick. I'm also doing a quick pass on the corners here so I don't have a sharp corner after I ran it through the table saw. So I'm sanding and I'm doing one pass real quick just like that to give a nice smooth edge here so the kids don't, cut their heads open or whatever. So I'm gonna do that real quick and then I'll start painting the legs white. this one coat of paint. All this construction grade lumber, you can still see kind of the stenciling through it, so all this is going to take probably 2 coats of paint, but that's okay. So I'll do that and keep moving on. Do another coat here in a little bit. Okay, next I'm going to cut my main, really the main support span. This going the length of the bed to 2x6. So got back here. I'm cut 2 of them. For mine, it's going to be 85.5 inches long. So that's going to be long enough to where it allows my existing bed that I built to sit in the middle, in between the legs, and it spans the width of the legs, so I get full contact on both of the legs. So I've got 2 of these I need to build right here, or cut at least, and then paint. That's what I got on the table. 8 foot long 2x6s. I've got them both marked, so I'll go ahead and cut them and paint them. So while those are drying and waiting for their second coat, I'm going to go ahead and work on this piece next, and this piece, and we've got the same ones behind there. So I need 4 2x6s cut at 46 inches. That's kind of the width I decided to fit the twin sides bed, plus whatever extra space I need. So I'm gonna cut 4 2x6s at 46 inches. That's what I got here on the table. Got my helper working on his bunk bed, helping me paint. And then you want to tell your fans? Great work.
I like to paint.
You like to paint?
Yeah.
Good. Alright, so these pieces have been drying for a few days. So I'm going to take them inside and use these clamps that I bought the other day and put the legs together with the beams and see what it looks like. Mostly because I'm impatient and I want it to look cool. So I'm going to start assembling it indoors and then keep building from there. So we mocked it up, and this was good because we're going to do a couple of changes.
I'm in here.
Basically, these posts we're gonna flip them 180 degrees.
Yeah.
So this one right here, the vertical post, instead of this beam sitting on the inside of the post, I'm going to spin these posts 180 degrees, and this beam is going to sit on the outside. I'm going to do the same thing for that side too. So it's basically going to make the 2 legs come together and be skinnier, and so it won't stick out past the existing bed quite as far. Just give it a smaller footprint.
Huh?
And I've already got an idea on how to make it look better too whenever we flip those around. So I think it'll work out good for the better if we do that. Okay, so here's a new method we're going. Again, these vertical ones we just flipped them like that 180. So now this beam sits on the outside instead of on the inside. Same thing on the other ones, the beam's on the outside. And so I'm gonna have to come back and cut this down to match with the outside of the post now, since it moved in about 3 inches. But besides that, that should be the only thing I have to do is cut off 3 inches from each of those, and be good to go. I think the other thing I'm gonna do, since this is going to stay in this corner, I'll probably keep this 2x6 outside of the post. But the 2x6 that goes over here, I'll probably end up making it screw into the side of the post here instead of behind the post. It's going to screw into the side with pocket holes. That way I don't have to get behind the post. So that'll make it a little bit easier to do. I'll just have to cut them down, more than 3 inches or whatever, but I'll figure out the dimensions and get something to fit in between here and there. Alright, so this is a piece that's going to connect the width of the 2 upper legs. I'm going to cut it down to 37 inches so it fits in between the legs. And since it's going in between, then I'm going to use this pocket hole jig. Do pocket holes so I can screw it into the inside of both legs. So I'm going to do that next. Okay, so there's that piece tying the legs together. You can see now it's flush on the outside here. I have this other piece of wood that you can see I clamped to the back of this at first, just to basically make sure that this stayed flush. So I clamped that to the back of the legs and then butted this piece up against to that and clamped it together. And then just clamped everything. I've learned that when you're doing these pocket holes, it's best to clamp everything you can so it doesn't move around. And so that was just trying to keep everything flush. I'm probably gonna end up coming and caulking these and stuff and painting it, but anyways, that gets it pretty close. So I'm gonna do that 4 more times. So I got one here, one down there I'm gonna do, and on the other side, and then I guess down there behind the bed. Okay, so I got the bottom one screwed in, top one screwed in over there. I think since I can't get behind there for the bottom one, I'm going to do a triangular piece just to stiffen it up. You see right now if I grab on it here and kind of wiggle it, and wiggle some and stiffen it up with a triangular piece there. Probably later I'll do a triangular piece along the back there to stiffen it up in that direction. I'm going to do that next. Alright, so that's braced up. Next I'm going to do the 2 little rails that are going to go on either side of these beams where the slats are going to sit to support the bed. So basically I'm just going to split a 2x4.5 down the middle. So it'll be 2x2, 1.5 by 1.5, and just cut it the length in between the posts and just screw it in. I'll do that next. Okay, so there it is, and I did do the body weight test. It can hold me. So, should be able to hold the kids fine. Alright, I got both the rails on, so the next thing I did was cut my 1x4s to 40 inches wide. And they should drop right in, hopefully. There you go. Got it coming from the top. These will be my slats. Hopefully they're strong enough. I guess if I was going to do 8 of them, I don't know, they seem kind of flexible. We'll see what 8 of them feel like. If these don't feel strong enough, I'm just going to do 2x4s as slats, but everywhere I see they do 1x4s. Alright, so there it is. Got it there and tested it out. Feels pretty secure. Got 8 boards underneath. I think I'll probably end up adding a couple more. Get another one of these 1x4s, just make it 10 boards total on the bottom, just to be safe. Heck, maybe I'll buy 2. But yeah, feels pretty good. Feels pretty creepy up there without the railings, so I'll work on railings next and ladder last. Alright, here's the 3 boards I'm going to use for railings on the long side. Whoa! Just got hit by a bird. One thing special about these is, yeah, just cutting the length, but I did spend a good bit of time with the sander on these, with the coarse grit. Again, this is construction grade 2x4, so like right here, for instance, there's kind of a little splinter here. So I was just rubbing my hand down the wood as I was sanding to feel for any rough spots, and just made sure it hit and blended everything with the sander, because the railings, the kids will probably be handling these a lot when they're up on the top bunk. So besides that, though, it should be pretty standard stuff. Just make sure there's no splinters. So when the kids are up there, they don't hurt themselves. So I'm going to paint these and screw them on. Quick update, I was going to do just 3 horizontal slats, but put the first one on, you can see the holes down here in the bottom, and then just put the next 2 on with clamps, and we just decided it was too big of gaps. Our 3-year-old could slide through. We got him to try to slide through, and he just slid through it. I think it was 6 2/3 of an inch gap in between them. It was just too big. We didn't feel comfortable, so we're gonna do 4 slats now, and it's gonna be like 3 3/4 of an inch gap in between each, and a kid can't fit through there, so we're gonna do that. I'm about to run out of battery with my phone, so I'm just gonna show pictures basically of putting the other 3 slats on. Alright, so there's 3 rails up. I still need to make the 4th one, cut it and paint it, but basically all I'm doing is, oops, focus. I'm drilling these holes and then countersinking them, and then just driving a screw in. These are the 2. When I was going to have 3. This is where the first one was. So, yeah, just need to make 1 more rail, and then I'll be done with that. I already cut 2 boards. I want to go at the top there. I want to go to the top over there and painted them, and so I can screw those in next too. Alright, so before I fill in this end piece here with a vertical bar and some more slats, I decided I wanted to stiffen up the whole thing, so I'm going to do another triangular brace on the back. So just got it kind of holding in place right now so I can mark where to cut it and then go paint. I'm going to screw that board in as a triangular brace just to stiffen the whole bed up a little bit because it's still a little too wobbly for my liking, so I'll do that next. Alright, next I'm going to work on the ladder. So I'm going to make the 2 lengths of the ladder out of 2x6. And it's going to kind of look like that. And these notches are so that it can hook onto these rails here at the bottom and at the top. So you can kind of see, this is kind of what it's going to look like. I just cut this out as a template to see if it would work. Basically the top of the ladder is going to be removable for now because we want to make sure that, well, my wife doesn't want the kids climbing up and down during the day. They just want to use it at night. So basically we're going to do the ladder like this so that you can move it over, drop it down, and it locks on. So each side of the ladder will have this on the top and on the bottom there. And that way we can have a removable ladder for now. So, yeah, basically just took some measurements to see how tall the whole thing needed to be. I'm going to have a spacing of about 9.5 inches between each rung, which will be good for kid size. And yep, I'm going to actually go to my parents' house and use my dad's drill press to drill the holes and cut the notches out on these 2x6s. Alright, so here's the 2 I don't know, sides of the ladder. The one on the left is as cut. You can see that it doesn't really fit right. It doesn't grab on because I didn't cut it wide enough. I cut inside the lines, yada yada. So it bites at the top. I think the bottom's fine. The right one was the same way, the one back here, but I used my hammer and chisel to kind of knock out the wood there. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I had to do it at the top and at the bottom too, and so now it works. It slides in and out like I wanted it to. Oh, well, maybe it's still a little tight, but I'm gonna hit it with the sander too later. But that's basically what I wanted it to do. So now I'm gonna do the same thing here. I can see that it's a little tight here, so I'm going to do my hammer and chisel to cut away here and make sure that fits, and then I'll hit it with the sander, and then I'll start building the rungs. I did a little more chiseling after that time lapse, and now this one fits good. Just goes in like that, which is what I wanted. So now they both are there. They're pretty tight. I think the one on the right is just a little bit shorter, so it sits on there. And the one on the left is a little bit longer, so it sits on the top. But that's okay. They're pretty close. So I think I'm going to leave it in that position and take some measurements and see where I need to put my rungs. And I might even screw the rungs in like that. Actually, probably what I'll do is to stabilize it, I'll just screw some temporary boards to keep it kind of square. And then I'll go and do some pocket holes and add the rungs. I'm just going to use 2x4s for the rungs. Alright, so I've got the two side pieces level. Using my level for that, and then I clamp them so they can't swing left and right, and then pulled a measurement right here, and between the two rungs, or between the two sides, about 13.5. So that's how wide my rungs are going to be, and my spacing is going to be about 8 inches between each step. So the top one's going to be basically 8 inches from that top right there. And then every 8 inches, I'm going to add another step going all the way down. So let me calculate how many steps total. And I'll go cut those at 13.5 inches wide. And I'm going to use pocket holes to screw into the inside of each board. And then we'll have a ladder. Alright, I've got my steps. Actually needed 7, not 6. So I cut one more, put the pocket holes in it. My screws, my drill. I went through and did the math. Each of my steps are 7 5/8. Oh, come on, focus. 7 5/8. So because I'm doing 7 steps in total. Is that right? Yeah, that's right, because the first one is 0. That's the spacing, and so then I went and made those marks down each board from the top. So you can see these marks here, there. So that's going to be the top of each step. So now all that's left is just to put the steps in and screw them in. I added a couple of clamps. So I got 2 at the top and the bottom just to keep everything steady. But yeah, everything should go together pretty simply, hopefully. Let's see if it works. Okay, so with that, the bunk bed is complete for now. Might make, again, some extra trim to fill in these gaps and do some wood putty and stuff like that to clean it up, but for the most part it's done, and the kids can sleep in it tonight. I guess one extra thing that I did do is, I don't know if I mentioned this already, I added a couple of slats on the bottom to support, and then I doubled them up here so that there wouldn't be a gap right here. I guess I'm still going to come back and kind of fill in this area probably with a 2x6 or 2x4 or something like that. So there's a standing area here. But besides that, yep, it's done. So hopefully this was interesting, maybe helpful if you want to build one. If you have any questions, definitely drop a comment and ask, and I'll do my best to answer them. I guess last thing, maybe one other thing I was thinking about doing is maybe in these boards here, driving a lag into a stud in each of the walls, probably at the top, maybe one up here and one there into the walls, and that'll stabilize everything very good. But that, and I'm going to trim the fan. I don't know if I mentioned that. I'm just going to cut the blades short like that, See if that works. If not, I'll get a new fan. But besides that, this is ready to go. Thanks for watching.